Welcome back. Join us right here at 412-575-2600. It's the Bordas & Bordas hotline of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We saw some interesting results yesterday in the NFL and some strange things. I never saw a player retire half-time of a game and walk out on his team, but we saw that in Buffalo yesterday. And, Gene, I guess anything happens in Buffalo these days. Davis, the linebacker, had been in there, 9-year career, and just got tired of the way things were happening in Buffalo. So he decides he's just walking out on the team, takes his uniform off and leaves.
When the Buffalo Bills traded Tyrod Taylor to the Browns were broke a long streak of opening the season with the longest Super Bowl odds. Their odds improved to 100 to 1. The Bills' odds went down to 250 to 1. That's the way it's going in Buffalo. If you'll remember, Bob, you did see someone else retire in the middle of the game. It was Ramon Martinez, the pitcher for the Pirates. He was taken out in the 5th inning, left the ballpark.
Yeah, that's right.
Again.
I was thinking of football, but you're right about that. Ramon Martinez. That takes me way back in the day. Also, watch out for Jacksonville. They beat New England, and Blake Bortles has over 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. When you look at the schedule, Gene, the Steelers have a lot of games against really good quarterbacks, and they're going to have to figure out a way to really tighten it up, and it's hard to do when you don't have the opportunity necessarily to reach back for a whole bunch of new players. They got what they got, and they're going to have to just get better as they go along. Let's see what happens here on the lines. We have Jim in Johnstown first tonight. Hey, Jim, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, I watched the Cleveland game, and I also watched the Kansas City game. And I think that Antonio Brown is frustrated because, number one, Ben can't throw him the ball because he's being double-teamed. And
yet he still is. He has 33 targets, so he's throwing him the ball even though he's double teamed, and that may be the problem.
Know, but if you watch, he's throwing it up high, and Antonio Brown can't make one of his theatrical Grammy, passing interference calls. So Brown, I think, is getting frustrated because if you take a look at it, it's usually high and over his head or out of the end zone. And I think Antonio Brown's getting a little frustrated that he can't pull that Grammy stunt where, he can get passing interference and they can pick up yardage.
Do you get the feeling that he would be happier if he had 200 receiving yards, 15 catches, and even if they lost?
Look at the years before that. Antonio Brown was, I think, the star of any game that they played. Now he isn't.
Yes, but he's also
covered.
But the point is he's contributing by being double covered. When I see that, that means other people are open, and that means he's doing his job. He may not get the ball, as much as he likes, but he's doing what this team needs it to do. He's taking 2 people with him, Gene. That's a good thing.
I don't understand the Grammy reference here. The guy who wants to win the Grammy is Lev Bell with his rap career. It's not Antonio.
And he's working on that in Miami Beach right now on a jet ski. Did you see the TMZ article today?
No.
Demanding his money.
Okay, well, come on in.
He's throwing away $153,000 a week.
Come on in. We got stacks over here for you.
Line 4 we go. Pete is up in Squirrel Hill. Hey, Pete.
Hey, Bob and Gene. How are you tonight?
We're good.
Bob, about the Steelers situation, and in particular, the Rooney family. The Steeler organization is a charter member of the NFL. 1933.
Yep.
The family has owned them for 86 years. At what point, Bob, does the family step up to the plate and say this is absolutely so unacceptable? That's unconscionable what Dupree did, that tweet. And Antonio Brown, cut their losses, Bob, get rid of the idiots, and be interested only who people who care about their teammates, Bob, and care about winning.
Well, winning. See, that's the double standard, Pete. That is to get what it takes to win. You have players who can do that. They're elite players, and this is part of the problem, Gene. I think because Antonio Brown does what he does, and there's no doubt he works harder than anyone. He runs crisper routes. He has put up numbers that no one else has been able to match. So he's a special talent. But with that comes, I guess, special rules, and therein lies the problem. Should there be special rules, or should you just say, look, we have one set of rules around here with regard to social media? And I'm not sure what that rule would be because it's hard to tell people not to be on social media. But you can be responsible on social media, and this is where it's a failing, I think.
Well, sure. I mean, but to suggest that this is some something really, social media is relatively new, but you know, the Steelers and all NFL teams have always had a number of sets of rules for different kinds of players. It's the way it's always been.
It is. It's the way it is, but it's a problem at times when something like this gets out of hand, because then you wonder if younger players see it and say, okay, there are two sets of rules. If I'm a good player, I could break that rule. I mean, it becomes an issue, and I think, and you have to watch. Brad in Punxsutawney joins us right now. What's up, Brad? How are you?
Hey, good, thanks, Bob, Gene. How you guys doing tonight? You know, I'm gonna kind of flip from one side of the coin to the other. After watching the Steelers down the stretch last year and starting out this year, I honestly think the lack of discipline in the organization is really starting to catch up with them. I'm not saying Mike Tomlin's not a good X's and O's coach. I think maybe, you know, he might well be, but he's losing the pulse of this team, and the lack of discipline, you know, the Bell distraction, now the Brown distraction, the Dupree distraction. These are things that are going to take a team that was projected to potentially go to the Super Bowl to a team that they play a couple more weeks like this, and they'll be lining up for draft picks next year.
Listen, what I'm saying is I understand, because we're talking about this issue and it's never good, but I think it's a media-driven thing, it's a fan-driven thing. I'm not so sure that they're concentrating on that over there. They got other things to worry about that are bigger than this, and it's how to stop people on defense. I think regardless of what goes on social media, and I don't like it because it becomes a problem that, you know, it's an annoyance, whatever you want to call it. But, Gene, they have to worry about, first and foremost right now, how to stop people from moving down the field the way Kansas City did yesterday, the way Jacksonville did in the AFC playoffs, the way Green Bay and other teams did all season long last year. But there doesn't seem to be an answer to that. So how do you change it? What?
Well, you know, they have to basically hope that players who should be improving do just that. Players like Artie Burns, who I thought was improving last year, but be improving much. The same can be said with Sean Davis, who, you know, is now at the back of that secondary, and people are still running through it. You know, you can't go back to the draft until next year. But I think you're right, Bob. I think the people running the club, Kevin Colbert, Mike Tomlin, Art Rooney II, do not feel like these social media dramas are a big problem to them. Art Rooney II, in talking about Antonio Brown's video after the playoff win at Kansas City, described it as a minor annoyance. Kevin Colbert never bought into the idea that this was team turmoil, and I don't think Mike Tomlin does either. I mean, they've got their problems that they spend a lot of time on, but this kind of stuff, I think, is more stuff for the fans to get upset about, and you know, to some extent the players. But you know, it is possible for the Steelers to lose a game without triggering a citywide mental health crisis every time they do.
All right, we're due for a break on that note. 412-575-2600 is the number right here on the hotline, sponsored by Borders & Borders. We'll be back for more calls right after this on Pittsburgh CW.